Alrighty, so let's go ahead and start our setup for the cyber chase in our dev environment, okay? And this is really important to get right because this structure that you're about to see is what will happen when we change topics. So this week we are changing topics in the sense that now we're moving to problem sets. Okay, so in your private repo, create a new folder. Now, so I do have both my instruction and my code space up. And the reason I do that, it just makes my life a little easier. Now, if you don't have the screen real estate to do it, I get it, it might not work. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make sure I've created it at the level that is being asked for, okay? So in your private repo really means, in this case, at the root. Okay, so at the same level as your Git help and your querying. Now I have a couple other folders here, so don't worry about that. But you want to be at this base level, and then you hit new folder. Okay, so that icon is for a new folder. Then I put PS, and in this case 0, not O, 0. Okay. And actually, I think I just did it wrong. So I think I put O and I said, yeah, no, I did. Okay. And the reason is sometimes it's hard to tell right here that it's a 0 or not. So just make sure you get that. So now then make this your current folder, right? So meaning select here. And then in here, we're going to create another folder. So we're doing a nested folder. So a folder that has another folder, often termed a subfolder. So in here, we're going to call this Cyber Chase. Okay. So there are multiple problem sets. We are going to be focused for now on the Cyber Chase and the PS0, which is the 0 problem set for CS50. Okay. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to copy the database. Okay, so make sure the cyber chase is the current folder, and in this case in the terminal. So how do we do that? If you don't already have a terminal open, we come over here and we go, okay, terminal, new terminal. Okay, now again, mine's a little crunched up, but it is there. I could make this maybe a little more to show, right? I could change that, zoom it out. I think I'd just be concerned you wouldn't be able to see it if I did it that way. Now, in here, the thing, and this is probably why I'm saying this, so I can move this over. What is my current folder when I open up my dev tools? Well, it's going to go to that base folder, which is my repo. Okay, so what you need to do is change into the cyber chase. Now you can do it the way I've shown, easy way, open an integrated terminal. But I tend to like to do it where I do it actually at the command line. So I do CD PSO dash, PSO. Okay, now because I already have one that is PSO that starts that way, then I would do S cyber and then I could hit tab to complete that for me. Okay, so you actually could type P and there's not another P folder in yours, hit tab and it would find SO, hit / and you'd type C and hit tab and it would get you there. Okay, now the other way works as well. It's just good to learn a little command line. It's always helpful. Okay, so now I know here. Now, is there a command I could actually show besides just looking at this? Yeah, I could do pwd, and that shows me, yep, you're in the cyber chase folder. Now, why do I want you in there? Is when you're going to copy this, like we did when we first in week 2 copied over the long list. Now we're going to copy over this cyber chase. Okay. So in this case, I'm copying this. I'm coming down here, making sure I'm in the right folder before I do this, and then I'm going to hit enter. And now when I do this, I get a new database file and I see, again, a little content showing me that it brought it in. So cool. So I now have it. So make sure you have the right folder structure. Make sure you got that file. I'm in Bash, so I can just type clear here. Now I happen to have another one, so what I could do is get rid of it so it doesn't get confusing. Okay? Okay, cool. All right. Oh, actually, yeah, I'm good. Okay, so now we're going to create a SQL file. Right? Now you saw these instructions last week. This is going to be similar. So now we're going to create a new file. So now in our cyber chase, which we're still in unless you happen to have stopped, now we're going to do new file. And in this case, W4 for attendance dash Q.SQL. Okay, so that's, and again, lowercase, do it like no spaces like I do it. Okay, and by the way, don't show, right? You should be clicking that. I have talked about it last week, but I'm just going to reiterate here. You should have set up that dev folder, and when you see that, just hit don't show. Okay, so now do not copy the old one. This is the same, right? So now we're going to copy this whole thing, copy this, and place it in here. Okay, so this is our new format, updated with a couple things. There's our proof of work is DS power dash, so proof of work DS. So what we're about to do is do a little work around just the new data set, and you will see me do this whenever we encounter a new data set like we're doing today. Okay, now in this step I had already up here had you get in a terminal, but I do give you this content to be clear what your terminal should be. Now you may have them reversed. Your first one may be your bash, your second one may be SQLite, whichever one. Okay, now in this case I'm going to go ahead and start up another one. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit here. So now I have one in CyberChase, right? I have one just in the root. So I want both of them to be in that CyberChase directory, but let's actually just do one at a time like it says. Okay, so in the first one, which would be this one, okay, I think I'm gonna minimize that. I can't. Okay, then I'm gonna zoom out just one. Okay, so in here, this is where I'm gonna type SQLite 3, and now cyberchase.db. Okay, cool. So now I have my first terminal in CyberChase. I always like to do .mode box here. Okay, so now I have that set up and ready. Now remember, to use this terminal, right, to test your queries interactively before saving them into your SQL file. Now this week we're introducing a new workflow. So this process captures, actually should say, this also serves as capturing your proof of work. I'll correct that before you see it, right? But this process, meaning this terminal, is also where we're going to end up capturing your proof of effort. And you'll see that in the next video. Okay, so now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to go to my second one, which is already in bash, but I'm going to change it to PS, okay, dash, and then I'm going to do cyber. Okay, so now I'm in that directory. And now I don't need to do anything here because that's already there. So this is where I'm going to do my git and my proof of work, right? Where I actually run this command to output that there. Okay, so now I do need to add one other thing. I need to add one more file. So in here, in this CyberChase, again, I'm clicked into here, so I'm in that active one. I type readme, all caps. It's the only file typically we do all caps with because it's just a standard for documentation, okay? So in here, we'll create, and now we're adding a heading 1. Now this is where I'm providing you the actual markdown. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, and this is typical of what sometimes I will do is I may see what I did? I actually made a mistake. Okay, so how do I know that? Because see, there's a little caret right there. And what that means is I hit the wrong icon. I'm going to delete that, right? And again, because I haven't done any version control, I can delete the stuff. Okay, come back up here, and I created a folder meant to create a file. And now I can see that that file is in there. Now I could see that because it wasn't opening for me. What I was actually looking for was opening to the side, and that's what gave me the hint. Okay, so now I'm going to say, okay, give me a heading here. Cool. Okay, so now we're actually going to do our first commit. Okay, so here's our first commit that we're going to do: new folder, files, and DB. Okay, so now I'm going to go to my bash. I'm going to do git status. I'm going to go, yeah, I got, everything is untracked. Everything is brand new. So git add star, git commit -m. Okay, cool. Now at this point, I'm going to do more, so I don't have to push, okay? So just, again, you can do it every time after you do a commit if that's what you're used to. All right, so I'm going to do here, I'm just going to clear, so this is a little better. So now what we're going to do is this step where we're actually going to update this file with some things that are a command and a query. But first, actually, I'm going to show them to you. So before you add them, actually, let's go over to our SQLite, okay? So one of the things that's different about the cyber chase is that from the long list, where the long list had the database and the table name, and I tried to give you the heads up about this as being the same. It's not true in the cyber chase. And the way you would know this is actually to do what's called schema. Now, Carter doesn't show this until later, but I show it now, okay? So in this case, when you do .schema in the command, in the SQL subsystem, it actually shows you some SQL that we'll learn later, but it says if the table doesn't exist. So here it shows you this is the name of the table. So CyberChase is the name of the database, episodes is the name of the table. And then within here we have ID, season, and you can see what kind of data these columns are, okay? So this is really good data to have, right? So that's one thing. And I'm going to end up having you put it in here in a minute for a reason that you'll see. And then add a new line, okay? So now let's actually, now that we know how to do that, let's actually come up here and do, and I could do .print that says cyber chase, okay, schema. And then I could do .schema. All right. Now, it's interesting. I notice it wants to, actually, I don't want it to change it. Oh, I had to hit escape out of that. Yeah, it's because that's a good question, actually. Does .schema work as well? Oh, it doesn't. Okay, so that's good to know, right? Okay, I'm going to do .shell clear just to have that. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, we're not going to run the proof of work because I also want you to write a query. And this is kind of the standard first query. Now, in this case, it says, show me everything, select star, show me everything, okay? And now we want to say from where? From, and in this case, if you don't remember, right, we just saw it before, episodes is the table name, and then semicolon. So if I got that right, you can see I got a lot of data. And it's really hard to see within the terminal. But I can see that, yeah, it worked. So then I could bring that back, select this, right? Copy this, come into here, paste it into here, and now I'd give another print, and I would say query to show all rows and columns in cyber chase database, something like that. We could actually specify the table as well, okay? So now we have these two, right? So now we're going to do the proof of work, okay? So now this process is only having to be done once, okay? So let's go ahead now. Now we're going to do our proof of work. Okay, because now we want to actually send these out to that file. Where do I do it, right? I do it in my terminal 2 for me. I'm going to paste that, make sure I have it right. Okay, so if I have that right, I now have a new file, okay? And this shows me all the columns that are in here, the schema, and then it shows me all the data. Okay, which is awesome, right? So I can see there's a lot of data, right? I could actually figure out how many rows in here, but let's just say since the schema, and we could have reversed this, but the schema went to 11, we could subtract 11 from what's the bottom right here, so it'd be 144, okay? So 140, is that right? Yeah, 144. Okay. So now that's not important to know, just to say we're not dealing with a huge data set here, right? Okay, so now that we have that, so now commit your work, right? And here's your commit message. I wonder why that commit, no, that was the same. Okay, so here's our commit cyber chase DB, okay? So now I'm gonna go back to I'm not back, I'm in my bash, git add star. I could do git status, git commit -m. Okay, got an extra space in there. Cool, right? So now I've committed those two, right? So now, So before we move on, I'm going to have you do one other change, but I just want you to see, and this is good to know. I've given you a link to actually, in the schema, it showed us ID, but in this case, it shows us what that represents. A unique identifier for each row, episode in the table. The season is an integer. It represents the season number of the episode in which it was aired. These will be important. Episode in season. Okay, so episode in season is which which is the episode's number within a given season. Title is its title. Topics are the topics in there. The air date. Now this is important. Okay, so let me just zoom over. Right. So understanding how the dates are in here will be important when you're querying on dates in the problem set, okay? And we can see the production code. So what is production? So we have air date, and then we have production code, so which is a unique identifier used by PBS to refer to each episode, which, by the way, if you want to scroll up, you can actually see here as Welcome to Cyber Chase. I've actually watched it. It was actually fun back in the day, right? Because they still run them sometimes since it was in 2002. So it's an educational kids series, right? So that's it. Okay, so now back here. So now we've done that. We've taken a look at it. Spend a little time here. The more you can understand what each of these fills represent, the more ahead of the game you're going to be when we get to this. Now, do not follow their instructions because I actually am going to have you do it differently. The only reason we're coming here is just to really look at what each of the columns represents, because our problems are going to be different than what is in CS50. Okay, so the last thing we do before we move on now is we're going to change. So we're going to go to this file here, this our SQL file for now. And instead of DS, because I don't want this now to be modified, because this is for reference, and these are good to have because sometimes you might just want to come in here and look at it rather than to run it on the terminal. There are just times it's helpful to have a data set proof of work just so you can look at it. So now we're going to change this one line from DS. Now I could copy the whole thing, right? Or I could just change the part that's going to change. And sometimes I tend to want to just change the parts I want to change so that I don't. Okay, I'm going to stop this here and then pick it up when we actually start our problems.